So I thought we'd start today by just going from the standpoint of how do we have great relationships with ourselves and with others? And I think that was reversed because it's not about having great relationships with others. That doesn't matter. It's about how do we have great relationships with ourselves. When I was meditating this week, this idea came to me in the midst of the night. And it was the degree of our relationship to ourselves or the degree of our relationship to others is fully based on what we believe our relationship is to the divine. Contemplate that. If we are in judgment of ourselves and if we are in judgment of others, then we must believe that the divine is in judgment of us and others. Because think of it. Let's go back to the very premise. There's only one power, one presence, one divine beingness in the world. Every great religion says there is one. It's monotheism. However, Hindus say that it's not monotheistic. We've got thousands of gods. That's not true. The Hindus believe in one God with thousands of aspects to God. In the Christian religion, they talk about the Trinity. And what they're talking about in the Trinity, they're talking about the triune nature of God, or three aspects of the one. None of them are separate from the other, right? So everything is the oneness of God expressing and experiencing itself. If it is the oneness expressing and experiencing itself, then we are the individualizations that it has chosen to be, and we are emanating from ourselves the very power that it is to create our life experience. So as we are born into this world, we are born into this world whole, perfect, and complete. Just as we are, there's nothing missing. And so when we were looking at the little baby earlier, that baby doesn't know that anything's missing. That baby knows that she is perfect in every way, shape, or form. But as we go on, we get into this idea that we must please mom and dad. We get into this idea that we must please our grandparents, we must please our teachers, we must please our friends, we must please our spouse, our children. We must be constantly in pleasing. Does that suck? Look at the demands we've just put on ourselves. All we are doing is trying to please everyone in the world that we come in contact with. I have to have an image because what will they think? What does the minister dress like? Well, he must dress like this or he must dress like that. And you start to realize that we've lost sight of who we are. The fact of the matter is that we're all unique. And we were meant to be unique. And we were never meant to be like anyone else. And I read a study about 5 things that were on people's minds when they were on their deathbed. And they had 5 wishes. If they could have done anything different, they would have done 5 different things. I only want to share the first thing that was on that list. And Patty, I'd wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. Think about that. Picture yourself on your deathbed, that you are looking over your entire life. Were you authentically yourself in every moment? Did you live up to your highest expectations, or were you living a life where you worried about everyone else around you? I am doing a lot of coaching and counseling with people in relationships. And I want to share with you the problem that I'm seeing in relationships is people are trying to either live up to the image of their partner, or they're trying to get their partner to live up to their image. And as long as that is going on, there is going to be conflict and there is going to be misery and pain and judgment and failure. Why? Because it doesn't align with the definition of love. The definition of love is to accept someone as they are, seeing within them, no matter how they are expressing it, they are the fullness, the allness of the divine that is unique to them. It doesn't mean that you have to embrace their behavior, but you have to accept their behavior. Now, the key thing is you don't have to stay in relationship with them either. If someone's doing something that really is not of your values and is causing you to be in a certain way, you don't have to be a part of them. There is no law there's no universal law. There may be an earthly law. There may be a mental law that's created that says you have to stay in that relationship. But in the universe, there's no law by God. God did not say you will marry and you will stay married for life. God did not say you will raise this child and you have to be with this child for life. God never said that. Your role when you bring a child into the world is to bring that child in, to equip that child with as much as you've got so that child can go about its life independently, expressing and experiencing and becoming more of itself. That child, remember, that child is God. It's the individualization of God. You're not caring for that child when it gets to a certain point. That child is God in expression, and you can't do nothing to change it. I have 2 sons. I want to change them. Guess what? If I keep wanting that, I'm going to be miserable for life. They're going to do what they do because it's their path. Would you want someone controlling your path? No. There's no way. There's nothing in our DNA that says, I want to be controlled, unless you're a dominatrix. I'm not into that, so I don't understand the psychology of that, but we could have a workshop on that sometime if someone else is willing to lead it. I'm always willing to learn. So let's go off on this idea of pleasing others. When we're trying to please others, we're literally putting ourselves down. When we put ourselves down, we're saying we're not equal. When we're saying we're not equal, we're saying that there are levels of God? I think not. I think there's only one level of God, and it's everywhere present. But when we subordinate ourselves or we raise ourselves above others, we're putting ourselves in a state of judgment, and we're not in oneness with God. I don't know how you take that, but I struggle with that. Not in the idea that it's true, but I struggle with how I've lived my life. And I realize that I've got a lot of forgiveness work to do on myself. Because I realize that how much of my life I've spent in judgment of others and their behavior and trying to get them and wishing they would change. And I realize that I don't have that right. And in that, I've taken on a responsibility that has made me that I can never live up to the responsibility, and in not living up to the responsibility, I'm going to be in pain forevermore. So here, let me tell you things you shouldn't do. Think about, if you complain, are you self-loving? No. If you whine, are you self-loving? A lot of women like to do the whine thing, but I never have enough cheese to give them when they do that. You know who I'm talking about. I love that analogy. Because what is whining doing? It's saying I want something outside of myself to change so that I can feel good. What is complaining doing? I want something outside of myself to change so I can feel good. What is it when you ask someone to be different so that they can make you happy? You're looking outside of yourself for your happiness and your joy. You're never going to get it. You can have a partner who gives you everything that you choose, and the second they give you what you choose, you will have a second or two of happiness, and then you're going to ask for something more. It's a very process of getting into drug addiction. When you get into drug addiction, you start out with a little bit. I can do one hit of cocaine. I can handle one hit. The next thing you know, 2 won't do me better. Because why? You're not being fulfilled. And so what ends up happening, you start going to heroin, and you go to heroin, and you're totally addicted, and then you may end up like Jimi Hendrix, dead. Now, that's not a bad thing, because what is death? Death is simply moving to the next level of evolvement. But we, in our human form, we've judged it, and we say about anyone who has taken them through the path of suicide that you're wrong and you're horrific. Follow this logic. We believe that the mind is the cause, because thought causes everything, right? Behind everything. Quantum physics is saying this over and over and over again. Everything starts with a thought. Without a thought and a vibration, there could be no physical demonstration. This stand here began as a thought. That chair began as a thought. Believe it or not, you began as a thought. A very lustful thought in the minds of your parents. But still, it began with a thought. And that thought then became the thing. So if you start to look at it from that standpoint, that's what disease comes from. It becomes from a thought process where we are not connected to the allness that exists. When we feel disease, it means a non-connection. It means we're feeling separation. And in that separation, we're having an experience that's unlike being in the oneness. And so then if you take that and follow it through, what is all death? All death is suicide. Because it may not be consciously chosen in that moment, but it may have been unconsciously brought through our experience by being unconnected. And look at it this way. Do we choose to die? Yes. Why do we choose to die? Because we realize that our earthly body is here for a purpose and not for eternity. That we understand, we get to a point where we realize, and you'll see this as you study near-death experience, or you study people who have gone through the process that have come back, or people, if you've been with a person when they're on their deathbed in the hospital, just as they're about to pass, you will see a sense of peace come over them. Because they realize that the fear is no longer relevant, that they are in the midst of something greater that they can't even express and explain, and the fear diminishes, and they become the oneness of God right then and there, and then they pass with a smile on their face. I witnessed that with my mother. 3 years ago when Mom was dying, I could see the pain when she was dying of cancer. I could see the pain, even with all the drugs. But in the last hour of her death, of her life, there was a shift. And you could feel the energy shifting in her, and you could see the peace come over her. And when that peace came over, she surrendered, and she stopped fighting. And she let go. You see? Think about that. Let go and let God. Letting go means letting go of your ego's control of how your life should be and accepting and allowing the divine that you are to flow through you. You're not giving up your power. You're reclaiming your power. This idea of love is so true about accepting ourselves as we are. Do you accept yourself as you are? When you look in the mirror, do you like who you see? When you sit down at the end of the day and you think about all the interactions that you had with people, do you like the way you interacted? Whether or not you like it or not, can you accept it? Can you accept that in that moment you were acting the best that you could? You see, that's the key. We were never meant to be perfect. We were meant to act the best we could in that moment. And in that moment, it may not have been the best ultimate, but in that moment, I was being the best Lee I could be. And in that best Lee that I could be, I was getting a contrast experience. Are you seeing that? So the best that I am, depending on where I'm at, is still going to generate contrast, right? And when I generate contrast, I now have the ability to choose, do I become different and go out into the world with a modified Lee? So when someone comes to you, and people come to you, and they'll say, you know, I don't like this about you. You did this and that type of thing, and you did this and you did that and that type of thing. I'm not saying to dismiss it. There may be lessons there. But I would ask you, when someone says something like that, first off, don't defend yourself. Because when you defend yourself, the only person you're trying to convince that you're right is yourself. If you think about that, you'll grasp that. The only person you're trying to convince is yourself. So if you're not going to defend yourself, what you do then is you take what they say, no matter what it is, and you say thank you. And you say to them, I will consider it. Not that you're going to do anything about it, but you're going to consider it in the silence when you're by yourself. And then in the silence, you consider it. It may be a day, it may be a moment, it may be a week. You decide, is that authentically me? Is that mine authentically to do? And you just start living it. You don't have to go back to the person and say, hey, I heard what you said, and because of that, I'm changing. No, because you don't need to please them. How many people remember the movie Love Story? I'm dating myself. We're going way back. Was it Ally McGraw? And was it Ryan O'Neal? And in the movie, there was a line that a lot of people didn't get. And society doesn't really want to hear it. Parents don't want to hear this line ever. And that line was, love means never, never having to say you're sorry. That just ruffles you, doesn't it? I can see the faces crinkling and saying, well, that bitch didn't say she was sorry. Oh, that bastard over there. You know what I'm saying? Because here, think about it. When you're saying sorry, if you did not do anything intentionally towards someone, and almost never do we do anything intentionally, this is the fallacy. We believe people do things to us. People are never doing things to us. They're doing things for themselves. Can we get real clear that we're very selfishly oriented, that all we're ever thinking about what's going to make me feel better, and I'm going to do it because that makes me feel better? It doesn't mean it's right, but that's what we're doing it for ourselves. If we're doing it for ourselves, which is about being the oneness of God, to say you're sorry to someone is almost like giving your power away. That I must be forgiven. No, the only person that needs to forgive you is yourself. If you're with a partner that you've chosen to be your life partner in life, and you've done something to hurt them, and you've taken what you've done in reflection, you've thought about it, and you've changed your life, and you never say you're sorry, but you're living differently, what's your partner going to know? They're going to know you're living differently. Because how many times have you heard other people say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but their behavior never changes? You see, the words are meaningless. It's who you are that is everything. This is what people pick up. This is what people sense. We're starting to get more in tune and more in touch with this idea that we are a vibrational energy. And this vibrational energy that we are radiates out, and we attract from people in our lives that come into our lives what the vibration is that we're putting out there. And if it's not our vibration, the energy that the people may have that are not like us, it goes in a completely different direction. It can't even be by us. So if you want to know what your vibration is, what kind of energy you're putting out, look at who's around you. And if they're cantankerous, if they're ornery, if they're complaining all the time, guess what? That's your energy, because you have to be that to attract it. That's what sucks about the law of attraction. And the law of attraction never lies. What did Jesus say? He said it so clearly. It is done unto you as you believe. It's not it's done unto you as you want to believe. It's done unto you as you believe. And what is a belief? A belief is a habit of thought. It's something you've thought over and over and over again. It is not a truth. A truth is something that cannot be changed. And the only truth that I know is that there's one individualization, or one infinite power and presence that is God. That's the only truth that I know. Everything that I believe stems from that premise. So I can logically say that my life, I'm trying to live under that idea that there's one power, one presence everywhere, individualized as each of us, and as it is individualized as each of us, its creative power is within our ability to use and demonstrate as we create our lives, constantly evolving, becoming more, because we believe in the eternality, the immortality, the continuity of the individual soul forever and ever and ever expanding. Are you hearing that? That means there is no death. That you've been around forever and you will be around forever as a part of the oneness, but unique as you, but you will shed this body, and in this body we get to have a unique experience, so get into it. Love your body. Enjoy your body. Be present with your body. Your body is the vessel through which you get to experience this life. When we tap into the idea that this life can be expressed with a healthy body much easier than a diseased body, then we'll make a change in our weight. Then we'll make a change in our eating habits. Then we'll make a change in our exercise habits. And I'm not saying I know the right way, but I'm saying you know the right way for you. Because your temple allows you to have the energy to do what you want. Because when you are thinking from what you value the most, what turns you on to life, and you're engaged in that, you have infinite energy that will never slow down. But when you're not engaged in that, you're going to overeat. You're going to be a couch potato. You might get into all forms of addiction, whether it be booze, alcohol, shopping, sex, codependency. I can name 1,000 different things. But when you are engaged in that one thing that is your passion, that is beyond anything that you've ever could imagine, when you're doing it, you're lost in time, you're lost in space. There's no time. And think about that. Eckhart Tolle says, The power of now. So when is now? It's when you're engaged in what you love. It's engaged when you're being the person that you know you want to be. It's what your essence is. And when you're fully engaged in that, when you're fully embodying it, you are in love with yourself. And when you love yourself at that level, people want to be by you. You will draw people to you. You don't have to put on a nice coat, a pretty dress, nice red shoes, or anything like that. You don't have to put anything on because the vibration that you emanate will attract to you who you are. So what is self-love? Self-love is being authentic by accepting yourself as you are and realizing that you have the right to be anything you choose, and that no one else matters in the determination of who that person is. You see, as I look at you, I see individualizations of the one. I also see you as perfect. I see you as deserving. I see you as God in expression. Can you feel that within your soul? Can you feel how much love you have for yourself that is desiring to come out? To stop hiding your feelings and be authentic and let those feelings be you, loving yourself, caring for yourself, accepting yourself. You are the one you've always been looking for. Today, I invite you to go home and look in the mirror and see your perfect partner. They've always been with you, and they will love you for eternity. Let's go within. And so as I speak, simply allow my words to be your words. And what I know right here, right now, is that there's one infinite power, one infinite beingness that has always been and always will be. It is everywhere present. It is constantly creating and recreating out of itself in this moment and in every moment. I know that I am that individualization, as each person in this room is that individualization, that they are whole, perfect, and complete. That the very mind that is God, the infinite mind of God, is the very mind into which I think, into the mind which each and every person thinks. And as such, I know divine wisdom is flowing to us, through us, and we are now open to receive that guidance. We are open to receive that wisdom. I know in the receptivity of that, it is easy for us to act. It is easy for us to know. It is easy for us to be the love. And so whatever that experience we are desiring to see is, we embrace the idea that we are one with God. We embrace the idea that we are perfect. We embrace the idea that we are eternal. And we bask ourselves in it. We let it flow like sunshine on our bodies lying on the beach. And as we let it flow, our hearts open. And they take in the nourishment that is love that we are, and we radiate that out into the universe. And as the universe receives it, our heart opens wider and wider and wider, and it magnifies it, sending it out and drawing back unto itself, so it becomes the cycle of life. And in that cycle of life, we just simply take it in, and we go into a place of gratitude, and we bless it. We call it good. We accept it. And we let it be. And together we say, and so it is. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.